All right, we're good to go.
Gang, gang, gang.
You know, I,
Uh,
I I hear people do that. I don't know what that means aside from like togetherness or something.
that's exactly what it means.
Okay, okay.
That's
I'm
exactly
just
what it
making
means.
sure there ain't some like hidden message that I'm missing out on. Cause
No,
boy
I'm
howdy
not
can I be
affiliated.
fucking oblivious to hidden messages.
I'm not affiliated. It's just just normal AAV. That's it.
Listen, I am
Okay.
affiliated with the ongoing gang that is Italian Americans.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, that's
that's
right.
see. I didn't want to stereotype, but you did it
Listen,
first.
listen, listen. No, it's not even a stereotype. There were some mafiosos in my family. I'll admit it. It's a long
Yeah.
ways back, right? It goes back maybe 3 generations, but there definitely were some. There are some weird
Um,
stories I could tell about that, but we got podcasts to do, don't we? We
yeah.
got
We're
some.
gonna talk about it. All right. So, go ahead.
No, we got some ink to put on the paper. Let's do this.
Yeah. Okay. What's up, everybody? This is Theo. I'm here with Annie. What's up, Annie? How you
Hey
doing?
man, doing all right?
Well, her and I are going to be talking about last week's subway shooting, where it was heinous, and we're going to talk about the overreaction by the police and a leftist solution. We're going to talk about the unionization efforts across the country. Amazon, Verizon, Starbucks, and now Apple and Grand Central is going to unionize. So, a lot of big things happening with unionization. And I'm going to juxtapose that with all the anti-trans and gay bills that are happening. So the left is kind of, we're having like a moment where it's like a bunch of unionization, but it's also a bunch of like um, hate on the other side, basically. Roe v. Wade and like a bunch of stuff on the cultural social side.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to figure out what does that mean for us. We're gonna talk about that and the Druski video and staying out of allies' business. We're gonna talk about that.
All right.
Our first topic is let's talk about unionization efforts across the country, juxtaposed because everybody knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to juxtapose that to the hatefulness we've been seeing. Like how, on the left, how do we deal with that?
Well, the hatefulness in what regard, though, right? That's the question.
Like with all the bills, like the don't say gay
Okay,
bill
yeah,
and
yeah.
the
The weird
yeah
homophobia wave, right?
the weird homophobia
Yeah.
moral panic
Listen,
bullshit.
listen, bro. I was like, I was thinking, hey, it's great, you know, after gay marriage was legalized and like, you know, gays started becoming like an accepted cultural norm. I was like, this is fucking awesome, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, the hardest part of the fighting, it's over. We good, and that, and it's like, nah, actually, bro, we're still going. We're still going, and I was talking to Senator Scott Wiener of California the other day, right? Not a federal senator, but like a state level senator, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
says, you know, he's a gay man himself. He's a legislator, and he introduced this bill in California saying, hey, we're not going to cooperate with any Texan or any other official that tries to prosecute like gay and trans people, you know, for whatever in California, right? Essentially, it's saying like California is going to be a sanctuary state for LGBT people, and
Makes sense.
I was talking to him, and you know, he's deeper in this scene than I am, and he says straight up to me like, yeah, no, this is political opportunism. This is, you know, they're trying to, they see, you know, the midterms coming up in 22, and they're trying to poke their bait. They're The Conservative Party's trying to poke their base, saying, "Hey, you know, look, see, we do hate the gays. Like, vote for us. We're fucking dragging the fag, as it was." And yes, I can say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I will not say.
no, it's all good. But like, they're trying to get like, you know, fucking cheap political points in the midterms. And bro, let me
Yeah.
tell you. Being a fucking like political pawn, like having my rights be like something you can ping pong about for cheap political points, it feels awesome. It's the taste, the
I'm
flavor, it's
sure.
all there. It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Like any day, they could just be gone, and it's
Mm.
like wow,
And the,
and
now
nobody will ever go.
No, no. And now I'll admit, I'm lucky because I live in California. There ain't gonna be shit coming my way. I'm on the other end of that, right? Where the cheap political points is like, we like trans people, and that's pretty cool. But still, like, it's fucking insane. Just like the fucking heel turn it was, right? Where it's like at least the conservatives tried to have a veneer of like we accept gays as long as they love our style like of American chauvinism. But now like it's not even that shit. It's like no, they're all fucking and calling them groomers of all things. Where it's like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Are you fucking shitting me with this? Like, this is gonna get
like
people
we're back
hurt.
to the 19. It probably has already, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
It's just
and there's a case working its way through Texas right now. It's Doe v. Texas, and we're calling the people affected Doe, for their own anonymity, right? But like this lady, like she worked for Texas Child Protective Services, and she got fucking narked on by her own people at the bureau, right? And now they're trying to pull her kid away from her, and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, she's just trying to provide, healthcare to her kid, and that's fucking child abuse to you. And it's like, on what planet, on whose fucking God's green earth, is making this child, happier, healthier, and safer? Fucking child abuse, and it's absolutely mind-boggling to me. And I'm smiling right now because I like to smile, but like deep down, there is a seething pit of hate for like Greg Abbott and all his stock who are doing shit like this.
DeSantis, the governor of fucking Alabama, all of them.
All right,
heinous.
Rant over. We can continue having a podcast now.
No. I dig it. It's fucked up. I feel the same way when I just feel this way generally. I'm like every time I'm on Twitter, there's like some new bill. I'm just like, what's wrong with these people? That's really just what it comes down to. And I know what's wrong with these people. They're just they want to live in a theocracy, ultimately.
See, I feel like there's definitely some segment where that's sort of the end goal here. But I'm not even sure if that's everyone involved. I genuinely think, right, that there are people like who are just don't think about it, and they just think, yeah, parental choice, whatever in the case of the Florida bill is good, or right, like I think this gender ideology stuff is bad because, right, like what we're hearing, what we, the people on the left, whatever, are hearing versus what is being spouted to the conservative voters that are backing shit like this, right, is entirely different. Because with liberals, maybe, and with socialists for sure, right, it's the issue comes first, and then sort of the politicking around it and the ginnying up support, right? But with conservative issues, it so often feels, right, like there's some people in a boardroom in an advertising firm somewhere saying like, all right, we need to win points in the midterm. This is going to be our issue. They pick the issue, and then they start, fear mongering about it and pulling up weird cultural shit, right? And then the policy comes, right? And then the hypothetical material needs that are completely constructed come, right? It's a complete inversion of base and superstructure, right? For all you materialist nerds out there, going on, where it's completely like a made up issue, trying to inform a material one. So I wouldn't even say it's a theocratic thing. It's literally like punditry for these fucking vampiric career politicians going inverse.
Well, we have to then we'll have to ask ourselves, what is the motive of a Christopher Rufo, the CRT guy, who explicitly said, we need support, this is going to be our new shit, and then he flooded the system with it. Now it's a thing. It wasn't a thing, he made it a thing. Abortion used to be a thing, now it's a thing. Trans athletes in sports, nobody gave a fuck, now people care somehow. When it's like, 0.01% of people of kids, or it's just like
Yeah.
totally
Yeah, no, like in
non-existent
Utah,
problem.
where it's like the bill, that was attempted to be passed, like, would have literally affected one child in the entire state. And it's like absolutely demented shit. And
But
I'll
it
say this.
helps.
I'll say that I know, I, I don't, I don't claim to know what's going on in Rufo's head, so I'm not going to make that claim, right? But I feel
Right.
like I have a good fucking inclination on what he's doing here, right? Is that the there are, again, those theocrats, right? There's the true believers who do want, to go back to this like imagined version of the 1950s, right, where the family you see in advertisements, right, is like everyone, and you eat fucking gelatin with hot dogs in it for dinner every night, right? I'm certain there's
Hmm.
plenty of people like that. But I would say at least the people pushing half of this crap, right? You've got a split between that shit and then the people who are just here to be grifters, right? And I genuinely, when I look at someone like Rufo, he's here because that pays his bills, and he's like, this, buys my next Maserati, right? This is a grift, and I will continue to do it as long as it's sustainable.
Well, you consider Bannon a true believer, probably.
Bannon, I listen. Bannon is one of the few figures in right wing politics that's actually, he's disgusting, but he's interesting because he really does seem to flip back and forth between that, where he a grifter and a true believer. And he's, yeah, I would see. I would say someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Like that's an example of someone who really does buy into this shit, really believes it, and like full
Yeah,
heartedly, believes what she's saying. She's drank her own
it's
medicine.
like, I mean, the end goal of a Bannon is like a white ethno state.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's his actual goal.
Yeah. It
Like,
is.
like, and not true believer in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in all the other like how to get there, it's like I don't really give a fuck. We're just gonna gamer gate, like whatever. Like I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like good at that part. But
Sure.
his end goal is the ethno state. And
Okay.
like obviously Stephen Miller, in that sense, like true believers in that sense.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that was probably one of the more terrifying thing about the Trump years, right? Is it, the rhetoric was basically the same, but like the percentage of people who were in there that seemed like true believers of this shit was kind of like that. That's where you get like, ugh, because it's like if it's profiteers, right, or who are running the show, you're basically gonna get Reaganism, right? It's gonna be really shitty. It's gonna be grifty as hell. It's gonna be atrocious for minorities and for people affected by this shit. But like ultimately it seems like there's a stopping point, right? And that's where it becomes unprofitable and people start fighting back hardcore. Right? With true
Exactly.
believers, it feels like there's a different end goal there. And that's the part that where I sort of back up, start pulling my collar, being like, all right, this is getting a little way too hot on the collar, man.
Right. When they start to push back at Capitol, even for
Exactly.
that's how you know. Like when Rex Tillerson was in the Trump administration,
Mm-hmm.
he was one of the like a Goldman Sachs or whatever the fuck kind of dude. One of the they should have been more responsible when taking out the mortgages kind of guy. Like fuck you. And he had to leave because he
Mm-hmm.
was like he probably in it for the grift. But then he realized, well, y'all motherfuckers are really crazy. But the true one stayed. Stephen Miller, other crazy nut jobs, Michael Flynn, those people actually stayed,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, we'll burn this whole shit down to get what
No,
we want.
you hit it so fucking clean on the head there, Rogue, right? I want it put on a fucking plaque how clean that was, right? Is when they keep pushing back even when it's not profitable, that's when to be really scared. That is exactly
Yeah.
it. That is when you
And
really start getting like, oh, okay, we're hitting the real shit now.
like DeSantis, like him going, I don't know how real this is against Disney,
Mm.
but when I saw that, we're not going to be pushed around by like this is his state. Maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, no,
Maybe he knows
there's a
Disney.
small Disney like corporatocracy like located like a city state inside of his own like real state.
Right. So if he's like posturing like Disney's not gonna go fucking anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They know they're not gonna go. So he's like just fighting it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But if he's really like, yeah, we're gonna pull your fucking nonprofit shit. We're gonna pull your fucking incentives. We're gonna pull this. If he's like goes to that level, That's how you know they're fucking serious.
Exactly.
I mean, we know they're serious already because they're doing policy that's actually hurting people materially. But like, like I said, against cap, but they haven't really gone against capital in that way, in a substantial way.
Exactly. When it
Where
goes
we're
from red alert to like triple red alert or whatever it is when like the nuclear thing's about to be launched, right? Like that, or like when it goes from like red alert fire season to like just don't go on the mountain, like it's on fire.
Right, exactly. So, so to bring it back, to how do we feel about those two tracks, or or you disagree with that on the left there's two tracks right now in terms of what we're dealing with policy wise and with work and organization.
Well, here's the real interesting thing, right? Is one of the most successful like mass unionization things I'm seeing right now is the Starbucks campaigns, right? Like they're winning stores left and right. I think there's like 200 plus considering like a union vote right now. Like that's amazing. That's beautiful, right? And while they started in traditionally blue states, right? I think it was, I could be very wrong here, but I think it was like upstate New York where the first one started winning their votes, right? Yeah, Buffalo's traditionally a very strong union place, right? But it's trickling out now, right? There are ones in conservative southern states that are also winning their elections right now, and the
Virginia.
And the thing with unions, right, is the whole point of them is that you ball up collective, or you ball up individual power into a big fist so that you have that collective power, right? And if that starts happening, right, back in the day, there was a big push against unions lobbying because unions lobbied for left-wing shit, and while they weren't, always hitting it out of the park, they weren't unsuccessful at what they were doing, right? And so my question, and obviously it's not gonna be fucking the Starbucks union charging in like it's fucking the end of Lord of the Rings, like they got a lance in their thing, to save gay and trans people in the southern states. I don't think that's going to be the case.
It's possible. It's possible.
Listen. You're proposing some cool fucking shit, and I'd love to write some fanfic about it. And when it happens, I'll be like, damn, that's some cool fucking shit, and I'll hit a big blunt or whatever while watching that. But for now, right, I don't really see that happening too directly. And the thing is, though, that normative economic power, right, does transfer then to normative cultural power, right? Because the two, that we always got to remember, they're in a cycle with each other, right? When the working class has more power, right, they have more power, or when they have more power economically speaking, they also have more power culturally speaking, and they're able to start setting up parallel institutions. And I don't think it's going to be the Starbucks union directly, helping that shit out, but I think the newfound wealth, not wealth, but like the better living conditions found for the people who organize, right? The better conditions they now have will allow them to materially support institutions that can do that cultural fighting back.
Absolutely. And you just have more of a connectedness to understand these things are important. We need to fight for it because there's no we. There's so much atomization. There's so much liberalism of the individual. The more we get, the easier it's going to be to push against all this shit. Really.
Exactly.
So I can appreciate that perspective.
One thing I'm going to be. You first, mate, because I've been hogging the conversation a lot here today.
No. I want to hear what you want to say.
No, I'm actually very curious, right, then, is I want to go back in history and look around, like, before, gay marriage and stuff was legalized, before it was culturally normative, right? I want to see, like, who were the people, funding things like the Trevor Project and, like, Lambda Legal and shit like that was doing the fighting back and sort of doing the pushing. I'm very curious to see, like, if there weren't some unions sort of helping pay into that, because that would be, that's like a side thing. That's a side project for me after this. But that'd be very interesting to look into.
No, it's interesting because people say, well, it's culture, it's culture down from politics, it's politics down from culture, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this whole thing about people on the right don't know how to do art because art requires some type of empathy, and that requires it's understanding the world
Mm-hmm.
and other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why most of the art in Hollywood and most of like you're gonna this is some like right wing art, whatever, but mostly it's like Disney, even though it's like diversity capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
it's still the artists. There's just the people making the art are gay, are trans,
Oh no,
are black.
I'm even willing to say there's plenty of right wing art. I would just say anything interesting is generally
Oh,
not going to be right wing art.
okay. Yeah, anything interesting or is gonna be pushed forward. It's like
Mm,
we won the culture war, we lost the fucking policy war,
sure.
or we're losing it. The culture war is won. Any movie, any TV show, any like whatever, unless you turn on Fox News, it's gonna be like two dudes kissing, interracial marriage, whatever the fuck. Who
Um,
cares?
I think currently the ball is in the left wing court for culture shit. I wouldn't say it's won though, right? If we're gonna continue a tennis metaphor, right? I would say it's 40-0 right now, right? It's very much in our favor, but I wouldn't say it's over. And
Yeah,
the
yeah, no,
fucking
you're
heel
right.
turn, the heel turn of like this groomer shit, that they're
You're right about
trying to
that.
tar all the LGBT people with, right? Like
You're
it's
right.
there's definitely some fucking kickback that's still got some booze.
There's pushback. Yeah, I would agree. It's not like we should kick our feet up like we won one. But
Exactly.
we are in pole position.
Exactly.
In terms of like we have to maintain it,
Mhm.
but it's the institutions where we, and that's the whole other side of it, where we didn't get the Senate Electoral College, the yeah, basically those two institutions and Supreme Court, those undemocratic institutions are where we're really fucked. Because Hillary would have won in 2016, maybe should have been terrible, but it wouldn't be this. And of course, George Bush would have won. So Iraq War, like, it's a structural failure because most people believe that the left is actually. It's not like we have to fight like we're only 20%, and we're fighting for the other 80. It's like 60% of people, 60 to 80% agree with our ideas, but it's not representative because of our structures. Yeah, name the electoral
Well,
college.
exactly, right? Is like on a per policy basis. If you propose a left wing policy, like usually people are going to be like, I kind of like that, right? It's then when A, you get into the weeds, and B, all right, what structural institutions support that? You're 100% right.
Yeah, so that's where we have. It's like
Got some growing to do.
that's why I hate Senate.
Got some growing to do.
Yeah. No, I hate Senate malapportionment. I hate that shit. I hate the shit. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Electoral college. I hate it. I mean,
Damn,
just
bro, you
because
love democracy? Damn, crazy.
I know.
Wild
I'm
sentiment,
wilding.
my friend.
I know I'm wilding. I know this is like I know we're not supposed to be loyal to the lords.
Off topic, though, have you seen fucking
Yes.
Chile's new constitution that it's considering?
I haven't. I've heard they writing one. I have not
Yeah,
seen.
one of the stipulations that's being considered right for it is they're thinking of getting rid of their senate because a lot of the Latin American countries have something that kind of resembles the U.S. Constitution, right? Because they kind of got independence around the same time. It was the whole liberal revolution, and the U.S. was the big hegemon in the region, and it hadn't started going big into imperialism yet, right? So a lot of people are like, yeah, we'll copy the U.S. They think their constitution's all right. Chile too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like theirs resembles ours a fair bit, and you can think of it the same way we think of our political institutions. Their Senate also malapportions representation, right? Disproportionately to rural areas. And genuinely, with this new constitution, they're like, hey, yeah, nah, we're done with that shit. That's some
Fuck that
wild
shit.
stuff.
Please do it. Please show us the way. Show us the way, because we need to get this shit the fuck out of here. I mean, what the fuck? Like, way the fuck out. But so that's go ahead.
No, I always love the second movie in the franchise, Allende Strikes Back. Like, no, I love that.
Right, exactly. It's good. It's gonna be exciting. I need to follow that more closely, actually.
Mm.
But yeah. So we have the. That's always going to be a structural problem for us. But in the meantime, we can't just bitch and complain. We have to figure out a way.
Mm.
So, and where I like, a lot of people doom or pilled on like climate change and whatnot, and I get it, trust me. But where I see like this like the thread I'm holding on to, like you're holding on to like a thread like of hope, is at least we have this class consciousness that's erupting in this country right now.
Yeah.
Amazon, ALU, like that gives me more hope than fucking KBJ or whatever the fuck liberal identity politics bullshit. That's that because we don't have the structures. We have the culture. We don't have the structures, and the structures are gonna fuck people's lives and are fucking people's lives. If they overturn Roe versus Wade, it's like that's all because they had a structural advantage. It wasn't because their ideas are better. So we're gonna have to use this union power that we're getting.
Yes.
And hopefully there's some, like, sometimes there are black swan events that are unforeseen, like the George Floyd protest where nobody knew it was going to happen, and we had the biggest protest in U.S. history. I'm guessing when they overturn Roe versus Wade in June, there's going to be a big fucking pushback.
See, I don't think they will. I think they're smart enough to understand that, yes, if they do that, shit will immediately hit the fan, right? And so there's two possibilities I see here, right? Is rather the ruling is going to be a very open-ended one where it's just like it's a state's choice kind of thing, right? Where I think that's probably the more likely of the two. The less likely of the two, right, is that they will repeal it, but that they're going to essentially kick it down the road till a Republican administration. I think that's closer. But yeah, it's okay to be like hopeful because like yeah, systems and structures always lag behind like the people, right? That the whole point of socialism, right, is we want to make that disconnect, as short as possible and get it so systems, follow the people as quickly as they can. But you're right. The progressive fomenting, the want and the need for change is there, and people are getting, they're getting the goods, they're getting things ready, so that those structural change can happen, down the line. And that's why this whole like divide a lot of left wing people I hear make between like electoralism and direct action, it's a myth. That doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
There's no divide, right? They are in many ways the same things wearing different hats. That's it, right? And so, your direct action will inform the culture that leads to the electoral stuff that follows later, right? And so don't worry about it. Like do both. You're gonna get your bread either way. And like trust me that. I have not fucking grinned my ass off the way, in a long time, since watching that video where like Chris Smalls comes out and the ALU wins and he fucking pops the champagne. I was like, damn, that's some good stuff right there. That's some. I popped some champagne myself. I was so happy. I was like,
shit.
Good for fucking them, man. That's some hot shit. Take on the biggest fucking corporation in the world and you win. And you win. And you look that cool while doing it. Alright, I see what's going on here.
Champagne socialism, baby. Champagne socialism. Yeah. That's definitely what it's going to be. It's no austerity over here. No brutalism over here. We're going to look good. We're going to feel good. We're going to drink. It's going to be a party.
That's right.
And that's what I have to look forward to. But it's going to take hard work to get there. And which is fine. Because what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do but do the work?
Exactly.
And so let's move on to something maybe not lighter but a more funny topic.
All right.
I'm not sure if you've seen the Druski video.
I have not.
So let me explain to you and the audience. Druski is a Instagram celebrity. I'll just say it that way. And he put out a skit where he was making fun of men who force liquor down women's throats when they hang out. Like drink, not force, but like, here, drink.
Yeah, like coerce.
Coerce.
All right.
Yeah, like, here, have a drink. And trust me, see, here's the thing. here's the point of my. I'll say the conclusion before I get to the premise. People have to stay out of allies' business.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is, Druski is trying to make something unpopular or make something not cool or is the word I'm looking for,
Stigmatized.
and stigmatize. He's trying to stigmatize certain behavior.
Okay.
In the video, he does a skit about, here, have another shot, just one more shot, just one more shot, because he's trying to get the girl drunk to have sex. That's what a lot of people do. I've seen it. It happens.
Yeah. Shitty
So
guy behavior.
unfortunately, yeah. So he puts this video out mocking them, and women, everybody were like, "You gotta do this. Is not good enough. You didn't call it rape culture. You didn't call it rape." And I have a lot of, well, yeah, I have a lot of problems with this guy Destiny. But one thing he said that was like so.
Destiny or Druski? Because they're both D names.
No, Destiny.
Okay. Okay.
Because he said one time we have everything can't be rape. We can't call everything rape.
Sure.
And I agree, like there has to be like levels to it because in order to bring people, because if you tell people, yeah, you've been raping women your whole life, they're gonna like freak the fuck out because this is like it's so pervasive that you're not. It's gonna be difficult, and I'm saying this as a person who's inter-community. I know what I'm talking about. I know how men absorb these things. So if I make a video that's stigmatizing rape culture behavior, but I don't call it rape culture, please let me do my thing. We're on the same side. If I call it rape culture and all this, start using feminist terms,
their brains are gonna shut off.
It's not gonna work for my audience.
Exactly.
My audience needs to understand basically this is weirdo shit. This is corny shit. We don't do this type of shit over here. We respect this consent. It says she wants to drink, she drinks. She don't be a weirdo. Don't be up on her. Like there's a way to do intra-community allyism, if that's a word.
Sure.
And he eventually deleted the video because he got so much pushback. That's why I got so upset. I'm like, I don't know, like what, like if it's liberals doing this or like liberal feminists doing this or like maybe it's just a problem on the left in general.
Well, liberals on the left, but yeah, continue.
I get what you're saying. No,
culturally
liberal
left.
feminists. Yeah, culturally left. Like if it's a problem of not purity testing, but not understanding that not the allies' plight or like I say, allies' business. Or do you understand what I'm getting?
No, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. No, I actually agree with you quite a bit here, right? There's a little bit where I'd push back, but for the most part, like 80% and 85%, I'm like totally with you, right? Is like one thing, socialists need to understand, and activists in general need to understand, right? Is that the conditions that are present in cultural scenarios and economic scenarios are going to require different strategies. That's fine. That's going to happen, right? And I would say, like, this is a prime example of that, right? There's a different culture present, so you have to code switch. You can't use, the blatant, the bombastic language, you learn in academic spaces to work here. It's not going to click because, the culture doesn't mesh. People don't want to sound like they're being talked down to by some fucking snot-nosed academic. And trust me, I had to learn to not be a snot-nosed academic, and I'm still learning that, frankly. And so code switching, right? And it happens. It needs to happen. And I would say, intra-community outreach is often some of the most effective, right? Because when it's someone from your own stripe talking to you, reaching out to you saying, hey, this doesn't work. This isn't how we do it, right? This is bullshit, right? Like, it's going to be far more effective than some outsider coming in, right? Basically, any movement that succeeded has had to have had, inter-community help. And I'm not going to say this is equal, right? But A prime example of this from history, right, is the Zapatistas, right, who are very successful. They won't call themselves anarchists, but anarchist movement in Mexico, right, in all but name, right. It was started partially by a bunch of Marxist intellectuals coming from Mexico City out to the jungles in Chiapas, right, and like it would have just been that, and probably failed pretty spectacularly if there wasn't that partnership with the local Mayan people, right? They worked together, like, and the Marxist, intellectuals from Mexico City, they oftentimes took a backseat role. They said, all right, here's some ideas, but you implement them how you see fit, like what works for the cultural situation you're in, And so they have this expression that I've taken deep to heart, right? My political inspiration, Stout and Lind, is also taken to heart, right? It's this idea of you lead by obeying, right? And this is a situation. This is your thing is a much more minor version of that, right? Where it's like, what it means to lead by obey is that you make sure that you understand, what is being said, how it's being said, and the words that are being said in that space before you start trying to take, on a leadership role, and you hear what people need, and then you use the framework of sort of a progressive socialist lens to inform how you speak to that, right? And so you have to listen. You have to be like, this is the bad culture that exists, that gets sort of spoken to you by folks affected to it, and then you address that, from a socialist lens, but you put it in the language of what is being, of what exists around you. And I would even say this is a socialist thing. Any successful movement of any ideology, should be doing something like that. Absolutely, that is exactly how to tackle an issue like that. My only pushback would be, right, is I've seen this sometimes, right, where the code switching and the culturally normative behavior, I wouldn't say it's the case here. I don't have the context of the video to really know what's going on there, right? But there are instances I've seen where that code switch just sort of becomes reinforcing the norm that exists, right? And so my only pushback is when the cultural norms and the language that you have to use to speak to an issue actually reinforces that issue. I wouldn't say that's the case here, but I've seen some cases where that is what's happening.
Let me be frank. There's some times where I will say it's also public and private. In public, if I'm making conversation, I will say chicks, but in private, there may be one time I may have to throw a bitch in there to keep it smooth. Like, we're talking about bitches, but I'm trying to make a bigger point about treating women with respect.
Yeah.
It's like it's an interplay. I wouldn't do it, like, definitely not publicly. Publicly, you try to put the best foot forward. You call them chicks. You use, like, try to be. Don't be too quote unquote woke. Like, look at the bigger picture of what I'm trying to do. Like, what he was trying to do. He didn't call them bitch or anything in the video. He just said girls or whatever, or something like that. It wasn't that.
Okay.
He was trying to show that this behavior of forcing women to drink, or trying to get women to get drunk, to have sex with them, is not cool. We know this is a big problem, and so any other, like, little things in there that may not be, like, perfect or whatnot, we kind of gotta let that slide at this point, because he's attacking a bigger issue.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying, yes. I would say always keep in mind the results. That's all. Is like, are you getting the results? Then we good, ultimately.
Yeah, no, it was stigmatized. People were laughing like, yeah, look at these dumbass dudes. Like, that's corny shit. Like, that was most of the reaction. Yeah. And then if I'm a dude who's doing that, I'm watching and just reading, like, I'm like, oh shit, that is type corny shit. Yeah. And then my friend group is like, no, that is type corny shit. We're getting those people. We're winning.
Good.
And we start to say, no, you were actually raping women when you were doing. It's like, whoa, those fucking they fucking crazy. I ain't raped nobody. I ain't fucking.
Listen, it's uncool to be reactionary, right? It's uncool to be misogynistic. All this shit. All this, from what it sounds like, all this guy was doing was pointing out that it's uncool. Like he's just exposing
Exactly.
something that already exists. It just hasn't been sort of put into the right language and enunciated properly yet. That's what it seems like.
Exactly.
But I still haven't seen the video. So again,
No, no,
I'm
that's
working with what
exactly
I
what it
got on
was.
hand.
That's I wouldn't misrepresent the video to you,
Hey, no,
my
it's all
co-host.
good.
But yes, that's exactly what he's doing. Use comedy
Okay.
as a vehicle to get through that. Some people just use speech. Some people, whatever the case may be. But I just wanted to let people know you have to let allies do their work. If we're working, we're inter-community. It's not going to be the way like if I'm in doing gender theory or whatnot. It's not going to be super, all the right terminology or whatever. It's not going to be bigoted. It won't. It will never be that. Some people that consider bitches to be super misogynistic, depending on the circles. That's what I'm saying. Depending on the circles, bitches and niggas is synonymous. Like bitches just means women, niggas just means men. Depending on the circles. That's why you have to trust the people who are doing the work.
Yeah,
That they know what they're doing.
I wouldn't even say trust them. Like they are the leaders in that situation, right? Going back to
Yeah.
the Zapatista thing, right? The person with the cultural understanding should be taking the lead point, right? And then the theory head or whatever is sort of following along, giving suggestions for good directions to go in, right? But it is ultimately the person with the experience, with the ties to that community that should be sort of walking the path that others follow. 100% agree with you there, mate. 100%.
Right. And I was just upset that eventually he had deleted the video. If he would have kept it up and like weathered the storm, I would have been like, all right, cool. I probably wouldn't have made a video. Maybe I would have made like a little comment. But since he deleted the video and now he'll be disincentivized to make future content like that, that's why it's like, damn, man, why y'all push him to the edge to, like, just, understand what I'm saying? Like, we had it. We had it. We been working on this rape culture problem for dumb long. And we're trying to say it's not cool. Like race, I don't need your grandfather to learn about systemic racism. I don't need him to know about. I mean, technically, it'd be nice, but if he just says racism, like that's not cool. Perfect. He won.
That's
We
the first
won.
step, yeah.
We won. We won. Not he just. You don't have to be super woke. Just that's not cool.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what life is. That's what being a human being is like.
Just don't
you wanna be
act
part of-
on the behavior. Getting people to not act on reactionary behavior is definitely the first step in like winning, right? Is like a proactive reactionary is always worse than a passive one at the very basic fucking minimum, right? And
Yeah.
you're 100% right. And here's the interesting thing too about the internet, right? Is the internet's got both a very long attention span and a very short one, right? And that happens when you got fucking a million human computer brains, right? Like all firing at each other at once, right? Is they're gonna have a long
Yeah, what do you
memory
mean
and a
by that?
short memory. And the short memory, right, is if this guy's video is ultimately on the right side of history, it's giving out good ideas, right? All that shit. Then like, yeah, weather the storm because people are gonna forget about it in 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
I've had points where people have put me on blast, and you know what? You just sort of chill out for 2 weeks, and it goes away.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? This is inter-community, but we're such on the precipice. It's like it was like a little. What do they call when you're doing a fire? Just a little bit of fire, kindling.
Spark. Oh, okay, Kim.
Yeah, is the kindling. We had the kindling of a bigger conversation to have about rape culture. This video was a jumping off point. We have not had this conversation in the quote unquote hip hop community. I'll say. I won't say black community. I'll say hip hop community.
Okay.
Or because trust me, growing up, I've seen it's just normal. You go get the drinks, bring the girls over, try to get them a drink. What we do, that's just the way a 25, 24-year-old dude tries to get sex. There's been plenty of times like this where you asking her for the 30,000th time if she want to have sex. Bro, chill, relax. She would have told you already. See, it's a joke,
Exactly.
but it's like saying like trying to coerce into sex is not cool.
Exactly. You clown
But
on, in that situation. You're clowning on him, right? He looks like the asshole there.
and other people see that and say this
Hmm.
is not cool,
Exactly.
you know. So like this is or something. This has happened. This like as a man, you're told to keep pushing.
Hmm.
As a woman, you're told to not to like not you know what I'm saying not be a slut basically,
Hmm.
and not say yes. So right, and I'm gonna and I would say just in terms of dealing with reality
Mm.
and what happens in college dorm rooms and people drink every night, and there was a time where they were saying if she's drunk or she's drinking at all then it's rape. I'm like,
Um,
what?
that's where I will push back on you, where it's like, ooh, if someone is fucking, spinning around the room, if they ain't seeing right, yeah, that is
Oh,
actually.
oh, I didn't say that. I didn't
Okay,
say that.
all right.
I said if that because I agree. If she's like slobbering and don't know what the fuck is going on, yeah, you're that's most men
Yeah.
know that
Mm.
this is.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, you have
bad
that
boy
people who
zone.
still
Don't get
do
in
it.
there.
You're wilding. It's like, yo, bro, she's not even like this is nasty, bro. Chill,
Yeah.
relax. But then like most people like come have a party, we get drunk, we're both drunk, and then we have sex. I
Mm.
don't even remember what happened last night. You don't remember what happened last night. That happens, or maybe I'm wrong. You could tell me I'm
Well,
wrong.
that's on a case by case basis at that point, right? I got a spouse that I've been with a long fucking time, right? And sometimes we'll both get sloshed, but it's like there's already been sort of the groundwork there of consent sort of built up over time, where it's like we kind of know already like what the limits are, what isn't, right? And so I would say again, it's very case by case basis. Um, that's an area though where at the baseline I would tread with water. At the fucking baseline I would tread with
But would you?
or tread with
I
caution.
understand. I understand prescriptively, but
Mm.
descriptively, would you say that's the case? Like, if any random night in LA, that there's gonna be drinks and there's probably gonna be sex out there.
I mean, I wouldn't say that's always the case. Again, that's a case by case basis,
No,
right?
no, I mean, like, or maybe I'm wrong.
Hmm.
Maybe I've just seen the world differently,
Hmm.
where where people party and then they have one night stands. I mean,
Yeah, no. Again, that I'll keep hitting this hammer till the hammer breaks. Right? Is that it's a very case by case basis, right? That's like that you have to analyze what happened, who was involved, what the feelings were on both parties, even going into it, shit like that.
right. Okay, so all right, let's get to prescription, because if it's like that's kind of like, we don't really know. What's the prescription?
I would say listen to the parties involved would be my prescriptive thing. Is like, and I'm
I
not
mean, more.
no, and I'm talking like really listen, like not like in an offhand sort of way, but like if you were sort of alone with them, having a heart to heart, that's where I would be like, what do people say in that situation about the events that transpired? Because if they're like nobody's around, it's basically you and them, at the cliffs of the sea, sort of smoking one, talking after a long day, right? And they say like, no, it was cool. Then of course it's cool, right? But like, people say different shit when they're alone, and
No, no. I mean, no. In terms of like whether or not she was uncomfortable, because it's like, you know, men can get raped too. Like that's more when you're in a relationship. I've seen that, but that's a whole other story. We'll talk about a different day. But for today, let's continue to talk about alcohol and sex and strangers and how men should approach that. And yeah, specifically men, because obviously men would be the transgressors. You'll go, then I go.
I'm gonna be real. Like I never did a whole lot of hooking up. Like I have basically no insight into a lot of this because like,
Uh,
I never really had to. I got pretty lucky and hit it out of the park, on the third person I asked out, right? And I'm sort of,
Out the
look
game.
at me. I'm wearing a fucking sweater vest. I'm not the kind to go out and party a whole lot, right? So, so like,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
I'm a little older than you,
that's fair.
so I mean, I'm saying that as in, I'm older and I didn't find the one, so
Mm-hmm.
I was in the streets, as they say,
Mm-hmm. On the prowl.
and on definitely on the prowl,
Mm-hmm.
sexually promiscuous. Girls, they trying to come through too. It's like a. So I would say this that I would ask you in terms of your friend group and the women that you know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know any women who are like to go out and get drunk? Because women have told me I like to get drunk and fuck. Told me that to my face.
Well, exactly. Like it depends on the situation, right? There's
Right? No,
there's
no.
some ladies who are like that. That's my scene.
But, but that does that need to be said every time you meet somebody out? This is what I'm saying. Like, or is it can it be implicitly known?
Consent should generally be given, right? And it's a very tricky thing, right? Sometimes it's straight up said like, hey, even if I get a little sloshed, like it's all good. I consent to this. You can do whatever, right? Sometimes that's it. Sometimes it's implied, and again, I hate this is so fucking wormy of me, but I gotta say, it's on a case by case basis, right? Like, it's totally dependent on what factors were at play. Yeah.
I mean, no, I understand what you're saying, but I'm trying to get to the same way in the video
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, this is the culture. The
Mm-hmm.
culture is get the girls to come drink, blah 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 blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. It's like everything will not be explicit. That's just not gonna. I
Okay.
mean, maybe not.
At least
It
not in the
should.
short term.
In my like the way I operate. Well, not. I'm not 100%. Not 100%. Like if I'm talking to a girl about sex. She says she wants to get drunk and fuck. I say, what time are you coming over? And then we start to have sex, and I don't say, do you want to have sex right now?
Well, yeah,
Did I not get consent?
yeah. If you already like asked about that and there was like a cool like yeah, let's do it, right? Like that sounds like fucking consent to me at least, right? But again,
Yeah, but I'm saying, but it was like in the. Go ahead.
no, it's like that sounds like consent was already given like over the phone sort of before all this went down, and so
Right.
I don't know the specifics of any situation, but like if that was what was presented to me at all, I would say like yeah, that seems like consent to me at least.
Right. And there's been times where it's cold. There's no talk of sex beforehand. And I would say when it's cold, and it's like sexual tension. How do you? This is shit that is like makes it complicated.
Mm-hmm.
When it's cold, and you want to like you're unsure, ask obviously,
Yeah, of course.
and maybe you should always ask. Maybe that is the right answer.
I mean,
You
definitely
want to make out.
whenever you aren't certain, I'd say it's a pretty fucking good idea.
No, no, I'm sorry, just for like kissing. Like
Mm,
you could say, "I want to kiss you right now," or like, "I want to make out."
yeah,
It's not really a question, but it's kind of like you could say no. Like
exactly.
you can give her that. It's like,
Ex-
or
no,
you
exactly.
guys just
Give the fucking off ramp. Give say like you can say whatever, but like frame it in such a way that there's an option to be like, nah, you ain't. No, nah.
right, right. No, and or there's like you're sitting there watching a movie and you're like close,
Mm-hmm.
like. Are you gonna ask to put her a hammer? I guess you could. See, this is where like I grew up like in between like the new woke era and like the old way of like, you know, you do look for signs or whatnot if the girl's into you and all that. Like the new way, I'm on the new vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like a feeling like you could feel sexual tension, you're getting closer,
Sure.
and then you kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody said I want to make out, but it's like okay, this is happening. And this is where we get into like sex. It's like it's super like complicated,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, you could write a whole book about this, and people have.
Yeah, right, right, exactly. But I'm trying to get to a more of a what's cool, what's not cool, generally speaking.
Yeah, layman's definition.
Yeah, what's cool, what's not cool, generally speaking. How do we do this? How, because, like you said, every situation is different.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But
The
most
girl
situ-
isn't a robot. You can just ask her like, what's cool, what's not. Like, you can just
no, no,
straight up
no,
ask.
no. I mean, not what's cool, what's not cool for the girl. What's cool, not cool for the situation for the guy to do.
Yeah. Again,
Like,
you can always like
like.
if you ain't sure, just ask. Be like, is this all
No,
good
no,
with
no,
you,
no,
man?
not for. No, I mean, no, for the guy to. This is very cis het normative, but
Sure.
you understand, like, for the guy, it's not cool to coerce to ask a woman 30 times if she wants to have sex.
Yeah.
We know that's not cool.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so what is cool? How do I do it? Well, if she this is here's where my advice comes in. Because here's the problem. All right, here's my concern. You don't have to have sex with every girl you meet.
Of course.
That's a big problem with men.
Yeah.
That's a you. This is, and maybe just my man brain and the way I grew up. It was like, yeah, you have to have sex with every woman that you possibly can.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm atypical for that, or I don't know. I think that's pretty normal. Or will you disagree?
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. I began transitioning at 18, and I wasn't really in a situation to hook up much before 18. So like I genuinely could not tell you if that's normative or not, my man. Genuinely could not.
No, I mean like culturally speaking, not necessarily your own personal experience, but just like what you've seen, what you observed.
I mean, that sounds like machismo cis men. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. No. All right. So that's my experience. Other people may have different experiences.
Sure.
But
Sounds
for
like
the
a
people who
little
have my
toxic, but
experience,
sure.
yeah. No. I'm saying yes. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You don't. My prescription is you don't have to have sex with every girl. There's a pressure on men to have as much sex as possible. That raises your profile.
Exactly.
That makes you.
There's
it's
a
not
social
true.
incentive.
There's social incentive for it. So, first of all, we could say you don't have to have sex with every girl. Because that would take a lot of pressure off you, figuring like, how do I have sex with this girl I'm hanging out with? Instead of how do I have sex with this girl I'm hanging out with? It's let's see what happens. That's it.
Let's see what happens. That's a very good motto, and I think we're just about reaching the end of our show here as well. So I think people should also come see what happens maybe on a future episode. Who knows?
Come check us out.
Damn, wasn't that fucking transition beautiful? Look at me, fucking ace in the hole. All right, and I ruined it. All right, excellent. Well, I think this has been a wrap yet.
Yeah, I mean we can do a post after recording. Are you stopped recording already?
No, I'm still recording, mate. Like,
Oh.
that's
well,
right. You got
yeah,
tricked. We're still in this business. We're at 59 minutes and
Yeah.
still in, mate.
No, it's awesome. Subscribe to the YouTube, oneloveonebeing.com. One love, one being, all letters, all lowercase. Twitter. Everything's gonna be in the show notes. Follow us, subscribe,
Yeah.
all that shit that they tell you to do.
If you like what you see, like, share it around. Spread the message. You know. That's how.
Show it to your friends.
Exactly. Show it to your
Send to your mom,
your dad.
whoever, cousin.
Got an uncle you haven't spoken to, lives out in the Ozarks or some shit. Send it to him. All right.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.